Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Des Bishop Podcast. Very excited about today's episode. We got a great guest in Chris Distefano, which I'm going to get to quick. I got a lot of stuff to say, but I'm going to wait till afterwards because my chat with Chris is just good crack. There's nothing that much serious about it, to be honest, although he did bring up a couple of serious issues like the demonization of Bill Gates and the rise of conspiracy theories around the coronavirus, which I do want to talk about seriously at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, we're going to chat with Chris Distefano, great New York comic. For those that don't know, he has a great podcast called History Hyenas. Their Patreon is patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys. He does with another great comic called Yanis Pappas, who I also know from the New York comedy scene. And so we're going to chat with Chris for about 20, 25 minutes, and then I'll be back after that to talk about some serious stuff. So enjoy the bit of crack with Chris Distefano, and I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Get that? Oh, here it goes, baby.
Look at that. Look at how tan you look and good, well-nourished.
Look how much of a good father you look. Jesus Christ.
Baby, I'm here for you. Listen, you want to play golf or what?
I wish we could play golf, man. I wish we could go down to Dyker Heights and watch all these Italians that live in Staten Island that are refusing to listen to quarantine.
Guy, I'm telling you, man, in my neighborhood in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and yeah, Staten Island, Dyker Heights, the coronavirus isn't real out here. It's just, it's not, the racism against the Chinese is real, but there's no virus out here.
And the funny thing is that I'm from Flushing, as you know, and weirdly enough, Flushing is not a hot spot, which kind of it turns out that it was the damn Europeans that brought it to New York, not the Chinese.
Fucking Europeans. Well, and now they said New York City. Now we're on pause till May 15th, which is like people are going to start to snap at some point. The people are just. The thing is, there's a bar on my corner. They were open. New York City's been closed for 3 weeks. They just closed like 3 or 4 days ago. They were open serving drinks because it's all owned by cops. So
yeah,
it's
plus that's like one of these bars in Queens that has that too, that like never had a smoking ban. Like the smoking ban just doesn't. After midnight, you can smoke.
Yeah, dude, I'll never forget two wild things. There's a bakery in my neighborhood in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. When Trump won in November 2016, this country was like post 9/11. It was like the pandemic now. For most of the country, it's like people are depressed. They're upset. The bakery in my neighborhood in Bay Ridge, the day after he won, they were giving out free black and white cookies. Because Trump won.
But listen, the coronavirus is a conspiracy against Trump. It's not even a big deal. They're just trying to make it a big deal to make Trump look bad.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know what it is? You know what it is? It's like I'll do podcasts with guys like you, or like talk to my comedy friends that I've seen the world, and you got all over Ireland. You're going everywhere, seeing all these groups of people, and like we'll have nice, fun conversations about shit. And then I'll go outside and I'll go for a walk, and I'll listen to people talking as they're walking, and it's like you start to hear shit like Bill Gates just wants a vaccine so he can microchip everybody. You'll hear that. Yeah, you'll hear that it's made in a lab. You'll hear that, this is just a ploy by Nancy Pelosi to get Trump out of office. It's like, so now Nancy Pelosi made the coronavirus? I just don't know who to believe.
Oh, I can't believe that Bill Gates became like the George Soros of 2020. I don't know how Bill Gates became the enemy. The guy literally predicted this in 2015, and now he's the enemy?
Yeah, now he's the enemy. And then my friends are so stupid. I got a friend, Patty. He goes, Patty Fly Balls, we call him. He's a nice Irish-American gentleman. He goes, yeah. He was like, Bill Gates. He goes, I never fucking trusted that guy. That's why I don't buy any Apple products. I'm like, well, that's not Bill Gates, but...
Is this real? Is this actually real, or is this... Oh, show us. Is your child actually in the room?
Yeah, she's in the... Well, we're actually in her classroom, but by the way, I have a morning show I've been doing called Wepa in the Morning. Go to patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys. History.
What is the Wepa stand for? Because I noticed, I've noticed that in your story.
Well, it's just because where it started from is, our podcast partner, Yanis Pappas, he used to host a morning show on Fusion, which is a Latino network right down in Miami. And Dan Soder, the great Dan Soder, said, that he was doing this, since he was doing this morning show 5 years ago, Giannis on the Spanish-speaking network, he called it, Dan Soder was just joking around with it. He was like, yeah, what's your morning show called? Wepa in the Morning? And we just always thought that was so funny. So then when it came time, 2 weeks ago, we said, you know what, I want to see Giannis Giannis every day. Giannis is like my fucking best friend, and I just miss him. So I'm like, let's just sign on to do our podcast every day. Let's just talk about the news in the way that Bay Ridge people would talk about the news. So you'll hear stories, on CNN about this, and that, and then you come and sign on to the Bay Ridge Boys, the History Hyenas. We tell it in our way, and that's what Wepa in the Morning is. It's just an alternate take on the morning's news every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
9 a.m. Eastern, which is good for Irish people because they can watch it at 2 p.m. Irish time.
Check it out. We actually, Des, I got to be honest with you, we have a good amount of Irish fans of our podcast. So I don't know if you helped us with retweets or what it is, but we have a good amount of people that come in. We got one fan from Cork. He calls himself Cucky, the Cuck from Cork. And
the what from Cork?
The cuck from Cork.
Oh, that's the cuck from he's a cuck. He likes to watch his girlfriend get banged by other, or is he just a cuck that he believes in feminism?
Yeah, and then we have somebody else. We have somebody else on our Patreon. These are all public names. You can see it. The Limerick lesbian, who's I don't know. That's what they call themselves.
Oh, that's great. Now, I'm not taking any credit for that because I haven't done for History Hyenas. I haven't done much other than that day when, funnily enough, I was in Cork. We were messing around on Instagram, and I was saying, "Fucking Chris Distefano, get the fuck over here. You're not really Italian. You're a Viking or whatever." You know what I think it is? I think from, our good friend Opie, from Opie and Anthony, Opie Radio on Instagram. So many times, his fans have said that you and I sound alike. So yes. I think it could be that. I think it could be like retweeting clips of that we've got some Irish fans, because me and Giannis were trying to figure it out once. We said, this must be from Des. I mean, we got these fucking Irish people coming out yelling at us, Well, that's great. I mean, I saw you guys in the charts, actually. I saw you guys in the Irish charts. I was like, get the fuck off my turf. This is my fucking turf over here.
Dude, Ireland, what's the craziest thing I've ever done in my life? So, like this was, must have been 2 years ago, right? I was home, my kid was away with her mom for a couple of days. So, I had nothing to do. I remember it was a beautiful sunny day in New York. And for some reason, I don't like the sun. The sun makes me depressed. I don't know what it is. I don't like the heat. I hate it. So I'm sitting there. I had no shows booked. I had nothing. I had like 3 days where I wasn't going to see my kid. I said, you know what? I said, let me look. I just get I put shit in a book bag. And I just get in an Uber and I go to JFK. And I'm looking through the weather app, international weather app. I see Dublin, 55 degrees, rain every day. Booked a flight, JFK to Dublin, 3 days, Airbnb, time of my life.
Are you kidding me? I never knew that you did that. I knew that you went to Ireland for shows, but I never knew that you did a random trip to Ireland.
Yeah, no comedy, no nothing. Just went around, went to the Viking Museum. I went there was a rugby match going on, saw that, and just, got drunk every night. And I had the time of my life. It was cold. It was rainy. The people were so nice. It was great. I was eating fucking pies, whatever, meat pies. I was shoved. I don't know what kind of fucking meat I was eating, but I was loving it. Fish and chips. I had diarrhea for about a week after that with the amount of fish and chips I ate, but it was so good. I'll do it all over again. That's
the Viking in you. You see, that it's in your DNA to want to go to Ireland and plunder, man. That's in your DNA. Well,
look, my mother is got fire engine red hair. So my her family's from Cavan. So she's very, very Irish. And then my dad is like a real Ginzo Goomba Wop. Yeah. But I did the Ancestry.com and it says I'm like 70% German. So I'm like, how the fuck? I grew up with an Irish redheaded mother and my dad in and out of prison. Where's the German coming from? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it has something to do with the barbarians and the Romans fighting each other or something like that. Maybe there was like a barbarian slave. I know you like the history.
I love the history, dude. By the way, speaking of you're such a tan, handsome Irishman. Are Irishmen usually as tan as you?
Well, I have 25% sick. It's very difficult for me to admit this, but my dad's dad was English. So I have a little bit of that DNA in me, but
right.
I don't know. You know the story. It's not easy to be a good-looking comedian. It's been difficult for us to get through this career like this.
No, dude, that's why in quarantine that's why it's perfect for me, because in quarantine I'm getting my tits back, so it'll be great.
Well, actually, one of the best laughs I've had during quarantine is we were messaging back and forth on Instagram, and I said I was complaining to you about the lack of calorie burn we have from everyday life, and your response to me was, Bro, don't talk to me. How long was I listened to your message. I sat down to listen to your message. And how long was that message? About 18 seconds? My tits are still jingling.
It's true, bro. Every day, my tits are starting to look like aardvarks. You ever seen aardvark's snout? How it just comes out? That's like one of my nipples.
I'm not circumcised. That's what my dick looks like. My dick looks like an aardvark snout.
That's very interesting because normally all my Irish American friends are circumcised, but in Ireland, the Catholics don't get circumcised?
No, nobody gets circumcised in Ireland. Now, as it turns out, I was the only one in my family not circumcised because I was born in London. Also, to my great shame, I was born in London. My parents waited for me to be born, and they brought me back to New York. I was born in November 1975. My first Christmas was in Flushing, Queens, 1975, so I didn't spend any time there. However, they didn't... In Britain, in Europe, you don't get circumcised unless, I guess, you're Muslim or Jewish. So when my mother got back, the doctor asked her, "Do you want to circumcise him?" But she was just like, "Doesn't matter at this stage, does it?" So actually, I was the only of my three brothers that was not circumcised.
Dude, I have a friend who my daughter's godfather, born in Poland, came here when he was 5 or 6 years old. We were on the basketball team. 19 years old, so he was a sophomore, and we were both sophomores, playing ball. He comes in one day, he's on crutches. And I said, "Oh my God, man, like you're going to be out for tomorrow's game?" He goes, "No, I should be good." I said, "What happened? You tweak your ankle or something like that?" I didn't see you fall in practice. He was like, "Nah, it's just, it's whatever. I don't want to talk about it." I was like, "God, dude, we're best friends. What the fuck's going on? Did you hurt your ankle, your back?" I was going to school to be a physical therapist. So I was like, I wanted to help you out. He goes, "It's my back." I was like, "Yeah, but then you shouldn't be on crutches if it's your back." He goes, "Bro, just leave me alone. It's something I don't want to talk about." So then I cornered him. I was like, "Dude, what the fuck is going on? Why are you on crutches?" I was like, "I'm the captain of this basketball team. I demand you tell me why you're on crutches." He goes, "Bro, you sure you're not, he goes, "Don't say anything. Don't be stupid right now. I'll tell you, but only you." I was like, "What's going on?" He goes, I got circumcised this morning." I was like, "Pull your dick out right now. Let's see it. Put it on the table."
What was it like?
Bro, he pulled it out. First of all, it was all bandaged up. It was all swollen, right? You could see how it was swollen through the bandage. I mean, he had a little dick to begin with, but this was like nuts. It looked like he had a vagina. That's how small his dick went. And then he takes the bandaging off, and it was like literally, dude, it looked like an ISIS beheading video. I can't explain to you how disgusting and horrifying it was. It made – I just was like I couldn't – and he did this. He got circumcised as one does. Got circumcised because the girl that he was dating, some fucking American princess that he was dating, was like, I don't want to have sex with a guy who's not circumcised. So of course he does that. Gets circumcised for her. 3 weeks later she dumps him. So now this kid's got his meat shaved and he's single again. But now he's happily married and he's all good. He's actually an emergency room doctor. So shout out to him.
Shout out to him and all our frontline workers without their foreskin, man. He's going in unprotected, man. He took off his fucking penis's face mask.
That's the thing. I know. I'm like, are you going to the hospital now? You don't have enough personal protective equipment. You have less PPE.
He doesn't have his natural PPE. Yo, bro. PPE. Now here's the question: since you saw the horror of a circumcision, if you had a boy, would you get your boy circumcised?
You know what, man?
There's a movement. There's a movement about that. It's genital mutilation.
Yeah, but you know what, Des? Here's what I was thinking though, because I understand that, but all those things feel like pre-pandemic problems, right? Like that just is a pre-pandemic issue. It's like, listen, babe, it's post-pandemic. It's not your concern what I do with my kids' beef. So it's like, why don't we just make sure that, your elderly parents don't have a dry cough and a fever? And let's worry less about, what comedians jerking off into plants, what bathroom you're using. Are you using a paper straw or plastic straw? It's like, why don't we make sure that our family has antibodies? Because all those are pre-pandemic, peacetime problems. Now we're at war with a little fucking squeak Chinese virus. So unfortunately, if you were fucking want to identify as a woman, but you look like a man, it's like, listen, guy, I got to put you down as a man, if you got a dry cough and a fever, because we're trying to get the statistics right to save lives. So I don't, cut your dick off. I don't give a fuck anymore. These are pre-pandemic issues.
Pre-pandemic issues, man. There's only a couple. I don't want to keep you because I know you're doing these pods all the time, but you brought up something.
Dude, are you kidding me? I'm getting horny right now.
Well, it's a big issue. Is it because I know you're joking around about the Chinese virus, but I do think that a lot of racism rises up around this whole thing about the Chinese virus and the Wuhan virus. On the other hand, do you know how bad it's getting in China against foreigners?
I could imagine. Yeah, I saw an article the other day. I hope that this isn't true, but that they're not letting black people into certain McDonald's, which is like,
In Guangzhou, they're not. So there's a huge African population in Guangzhou because the Chinese government has invested loads of money in Africa, bring all these people. Now they're not letting black people into McDonald's. Not to mention they're not letting any foreigners into loads of places. They're not letting the foreigners back to work because the whole vibe in China, the whole propaganda in China is that all the new cases are coming from overseas.
Which, who knows? That's the thing. It's like, there's no, and again, I feel as if I'm extremely naive. I'm only being told what the media can tell. I don't, I know doctors and I know people, but it's like, what do any of us really know? To me, racism against a Chinese American or a European Chinese, it's like, what? That's so fucking dumb. But the nation of China, I mean, if it's true that they've opened up the wet markets and that actually is the thing causing the coronavirus, and they're putting the world at risk again. I mean, something has to happen. I mean, sanctions, the world has to come together and say, listen, guy, you can't eat the bats anymore, if that really is what the cause is.
Yeah, which it's looking more and more like it probably wasn't the cause. But the biggest problem, which it really, in terms of pre-pandemic problems, the appeasement of an authoritarian Chinese government has caused numerous issues over the last 20 years. I don't mean it in the Trump sense of we've been getting ripped off by China, but just the fact that China causes so much money that nobody wants to step up to the Communist Party. But unfortunately, when the Communist Party's propaganda affects the entire world, that is actually a fucking problem.
Well, Des, let me ask you this, because I know you've lived in China. I'm sure you have many friends there.
Well, that's where my real resentment comes from. Go ahead.
Well, what are they saying about how is life in China now? Are they back to normal, or is that a lie? What are your friends saying?
I haven't. I should have. That's a good reminder to me to check in with them. But right now, I know that the Chinese government propaganda has really moved towards, we dealt with this well. The West has dealt with it terribly, and now the Western problem is coming back here. Even though, from my understanding, the majority of the cases that are returning to China are actually Chinese nationals returning to China. It's not suddenly a bunch of Westerners bringing their dirty disease over here.
Do you think living in China as long as you have, do you think it's very possible and probable that they 100% did lie about their numbers of cases and deaths?
I would bet everything I own on it. In fact, I know that I can't back this up with any facts other than they lie about everything else. Why the fuck wouldn't they? They lie about Muslim internment camps. They lie. Shit, man. We had this is such a minuscule thing, but we had a comedy show that we used to run every week. And I happened to be there leading up. I was in China for the 25th anniversary of the Tiananmen massacre, which is like a very sensitive thing for them. And the only time that our show got shut down, like they just came in and they were just like, nothing's happening here. Because officially you're supposed to have a license, you're supposed to apply to have a performance. But our shows were so small that we would never actually apply for the permit. We would just run the show. But the one time that it got shut down was that week of the Tiananmen massacre, because they were just desperate to have not a hint of anything close to anything that could acknowledge what happened 25 years before.
It's crazy, dude. I mean, I'm hearing these stories about China. It makes Trump sound like he should win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, the Chinese government is it's so bad. That's what drives me nuts. Funnily enough, all I've been doing on this podcast is complaining about Trump. But what drives me nuts, I love the way Trump is trying to blame the WHO now, but he was fucking up Xi Jinping's ass too. And they've been up fucking Xi Jinping's ass when it comes to money for the last 20 years. I mean, that is one good thing that might come out of this fucking virus is that the sort of the importance of trade with China might get a bit of a kick in the ass, and they might actually stand up to some of the nonsense that the Chinese Communist Party does.
Dude, fuck, I don't trust the Chinese, dude. I mean, I've been saying this since day one. Now everyone's got to wear masks. Where are the masks made? In China. They got the coronavirus on the fucking mask. No way I'm putting that mask on.
And I love China. Like, it's such a great country. Like, China, if they had a representative democracy, we'd be done. I think sometimes the people in power in the West want China to stay the way it is, because actually, if they had a representative democracy, they would fucking take over the world, because they are actually an incredible people and they're great people. It's just very unfortunate that they live in this insane totalitarian one-party state.
What about Ireland? Does Ireland look very similar to the United States right now? Everyone's indoors, can't go outside.
Ireland's way more serious than New York. New York, like our Irish people be calling me being like, oh my God, we had 500 new cases today. I'll be like, yeah, we had fucking 700 deaths and we're talking about being on the other side of the curve.
Yeah.
We flattened the curve to 700 deaths over here.
Yeah, dude, there's 500 people that died in my apartment building today, you know?
And I just went and I got a fucking acai bowl in West Hampton. I shouldn't even admit this. I put the dog in the fucking car and I went.
Are you the cuck from Cork? You're the cuck from Cork.
I got a fucking, the acai place is still open in West Hampton. And
Crazy,
people fucking
dude.
dying all over the place. Whereas in Ireland, you can't do anything. A cop stops you when you're on your way to the supermarket to make sure that you're going to the supermarket. And if you haven't got a good reason to be out, and if you're exercising more than 2 kilometers from your house, they can give you a ticket.
So what? So when is Ireland hinting that maybe they'll
May the 5th is the next kind of evaluation of when they're gonna open
New York,
up.
we just got pushed to May 15th. I think New York is closed for summer. I really believe that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going back to work anyway. I mean, I don't think I would want to. I don't want to be the guy where it's like, oh yeah, there was a show at the Comedy Cellar and it turns out that 2 people were infected and now all those people are quarantining.
Or even more so, it's like, I'm not going to the fucking whatever Funny Bone in the middle of the country and getting on a plane for $2,000. No fucking way.
Especially for guys like us, because we're killers. I mean, people laugh a lot when people fucking they end up hacking up a cough because we're killers. I mean, maybe some of these Brooklyn comedians can go and do it because nobody fucking laughs.
Yeah, because they're basically they're calling it a comedy show where it really is fucking TED Talks, so they can do whatever.
Yeah, let fucking comedy in fucking Williamsburg can open back up. Nobody's laughing anyway.
I will say though, man, like what we're doing, like, you know, trying to adapt to this new world. It's like some of our peers, some comedians who have been around 25 years, some comedians that I'm sure are extremely famous in Ireland or even, you know, internationally known guys that do not adapt to this new world. It's like they're going to have no career because if your whole career was just based off live performance, that's not coming back for 2 years, I think, minimum. And it's like, you got to adapt to this now. And this is his whole skill set. Like you've been doing this. You have a great podcast. You on the radio, you know how to do that. The fans like listening to this. But some other people, like, this is a skill that they may not have because stand-up is out. Like, people are like, are you writing new jokes? Are you working on your stand-up? It's like, for what? I'm working on podcasting. You know, like, why would I work on stand-up jokes? Like, I'm
hoping for funny scenarios that'll hopefully somebody will ping off and we'll get 3 minutes of decent back and forth.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta fucking survive, man. I gotta adapt. So that's why, you know, speaking of survival, patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys.
I know I haven't. Listen, first of all, it's for all my listeners and people that are watching. Although I've just started the YouTube thing. We don't get a ton of watchers. It's just really convenient with the Zooms. Bang them up on YouTube. Fucking Zoom is like the best thing ever. But anyway.
No, you put it out on audio on iTunes as well, right?
Of course. Perfect. I'm just saying the YouTube thing is the new thing, not the podcast.
Oh, right.
But anyway, Bay Ridge Boys. So that's your only Patreon is Bay Ridge Boys?
So it's patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys is the Patreon. The podcast is the History Hyenas, which Des is going to be on. Des is going to talk about. What are we going to talk about?
The Irish War of Independence.
The Irish War of Independence. We're going to get Des. You probably schedule you for that next week. Then the episode will come out. Irish War of Independence. Me, Giannis Pappas, Des Bishop, the History Hyenas. It's just, listen, the white guys are coming back. What can I say?
It's 100th anniversary. Well, you know, it was 100 years ago, the Irish War of Independence. So you got to watch The Wind That Shakes the Barley and then come back with some anger at
I'm
the
gonna
English.
Watch, and now, whose side are we on? Just so I know, we're not IRA, right? That's the enemy.
No. You got it wrong. My brother is calling
the IRA
me.
Is positive?
Does that show up when I've actually? This
Aiden,
is the first.
Your brother Aiden's calling you. That
no,
guy Aiden.
My brother Mike, unfortunately.
Oh,
but
your other brother. It was funny. When we were in Dublin Comedy Festival. I was with Colin Quinn, the great Colin Quinn, and we were doing the Dublin Comedy Festival. And I was talking to him, and your brother, who's such a great guy, but you know, he's a partier or whatever, you know. And then Aiden goes to Colin. He goes, "Do you want to come out and see Dublin?" He goes, "No, the last thing I need is if I go out with you, I'll see Dublin in the back of an ambulance." No thanks.
Colin Quinn said that.
Colin Quinn said that. Yeah.
I know you guys all came back and you were like, "Whoa, your brother's fucking intense."
Yeah, I thought your brother took us to all the spots that we would have never seen. You know, like all the underground comedy spots. He did his show. He kind of introduced us to some really cool. Introduced us to the Irish Dublin comedy scene, which was awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, the IRA in this instance is good. The IRA.
It's good. Okay.
Well, and there's an argument to say you'll learn a lot. Watch that, and then.
Well, I just want to know. I just want to know what side you're on. Text me what side you're on, because that's the
What
side I'll be
fucking
on.
side do you think? I'm on the side of fucking Irish independence.
Okay,
they're
so
fighting
that's
against.
what side
They're
I'm
fighting
on.
against England. They're fighting against
All right.
England.
Fuck them. Fuck England.
Oh, this is going to be great. I can't wait to do that podcast because you really don't know much at all. So we have a lot to learn.
I don't know anything. I have no idea. I mean, the only shit I know is from Irish Americans, which is they're all, I don't fucking know. You think I'm going to trust it? One of my Irish American friend, his name is Patty Flyballs. Like, I don't trust a word that guy says.
All the Irish Americans love the IRA, just so you know. So you're definitely clearly on the side of the IRA, both the old IRA and the more recent IRA. As far as your Irish American friends go, IRA all day.
And IRA all day. IRA is they're for independence. They're for Irish independence. They always
the old IRA that you're going to be looking at in terms of the Irish War of Independence, it was the original Irish Republican Army. They are literally fighting to take Ireland away from England. The Provisional IRA, which you are more aware of in terms of modern history and explosions and stuff like that, they were fighting for to make Northern Ireland part of the Republic of Ireland, because six counties.
Whose side is U2 on?
Well, Sunday Bloody Sunday is not a rebel song. That's what he says at the beginning of the song. He says this is not a rebel song. So the U2 would not be a fan of the violent uprising that started in the early 1970s. They wouldn't have been a fan of the Provisional IRA's tactics. However, I would think that they are nationalist at heart. And
listen, when this pandemic is over, here's what I'm going to fucking do, Des. I'm going to surgically reattach my foreskin and join the IRA, and you're coming with me.
Chucky Allah, baby. Chucky Allah. Another thing you have to learn. Well, that's good because the Irish are very parochial, so they're gonna love this. Do you have a final memory from your time of doing the Vodafone Comedy Festival? Because you loved it. You came back and said to me, bro, I could see why you live in Ireland, man. The crowds are great.
Bro, I wanted to go with you to Ireland to, I was gonna go with you to open up your shows and whatever. I just want to go to Ireland. It was the best comedy festival. Everyone says that Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival is the best in the world, and I love Just for Laughs. I love Montreal, but going to the Vodafone Comedy Festival in Dublin, it was just one of those experiences. Outdoor comedy, the fans. You know what I love so much about the fans there is the honesty. It's like if it was funny, even if it crossed the line, they laughed, and if it wasn't funny, you're doing hack bullshit trying to get away with something, they didn't laugh. So I like the honesty of it. It's like, some places in America, it's like, they'll fucking laugh if they agree with your cause. It's like Ireland, it's like, listen, I'm here for comedy. So is it funny? I'll laugh. If not, fuck you, get off. I love that.
And you did well, right?
I did well. I did one show, I did well. And then the second show I had to follow. I'm forgetting his name, but because people were coming into the tents to see whomever they wanted to, and then they would leave and go to the next tent. So I just on the lineup had to follow someone who was a big draw on the tents. I forgot the guy's name, but everyone came to see him. And then as I took the stage, I was just performing to people walking away. I was like, I'll go fuck myself. And that was the only show Colin Quinn stood in the back and watched. So I got made fun of and abused for the rest of the trip for bombing. And the only one he saw.
Yeah, but don't feel bad because genetically he's like 100% Irish, and he came back and said he didn't do well there. So
well, how about this? We were walking around. Colin and I are walking around, and we go into the Irish. There was a museum, an American museum in Dublin, an Irish American museum in Dublin, and we just go in to see what it's about. And Colin's an exhibit in the museum. He had no idea. They never even told him. There was a picture of him in the museum. They just took his name. They took everything about him. He goes, should I fucking sue them? And I'm like, no, dude, it's Ireland. It's great. It's an honor.
Yeah, that's definitely an honor. I'd love to fucking walk into a museum and find out that I'm an exhibition. I'm still upset because they did like 50 important portraits in the Dublin airport for like 3 years it was up, and I wasn't fucking one of them.
Well, you will be in the Irish American Museum if you can prove you're not a communist, you fucking Chinese fuck.
Oh yeah, that's it. I'm a spy, bro. I'm a big
spy.
I'm a spy. George Papadopoulos fucking has my number. I can tell you that right now.
You're a commie, bro.
So Chris, thanks so much, man. This has been great. Me, I needed something lighthearted, I needed something fucking silly and stupid. I'm fucking ranting and raving at Trump every night. I needed a fucking break.
Dude, I'll come on anytime you want, man. Anytime you want. I love your fans. I love Ireland. At Christie Comedy. At History Hyenas on everything. I love you, Desi.
All right. I hope we get more Irish listeners for you, bro. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.